Hello, it's Nikki. How are you doing? I have just done an episode, or a workshop rather, all about podcasting, and I wanted to share some of the things with you in there of what I have found from having my own podcast. Now, you can apply this to content, to creative projects, but hopefully you will get something from it. So there are four categories. One, why I started. Two, how I started. Why I've continued, and how I've continued. So let's do this. Also, I'm feeling very reflective at the moment because I recently hit my 500 episode benchmark, which just seems nuts. Okay, here we go. So why I started, I'm reading from my notes. That's why I'm chopping and changing. I wanted to have a conversation with my ideal clients. So no script, no agenda, no pressure. And this I have found over the years to be a fantastic strategy in terms of creating content once and throwing it out there gently into the world so people can access it as and when they need it. And what this allows me to do is for my clients, my customers, my listeners, is to get to know me and to get to know themselves and their business and do their work. Because when I was starting out, I was just told to just do discovery calls. Get on the phone, book in 10 discovery calls each and every day. And what I really realized was I could do that, but I didn't necessarily want to do that, because sometimes what was happening was that I wasn't filtering out that system, meaning there were people coming on discovery calls who'd be like, yeah, free coaching, lovely, let's do that. And so what might have happened is that I would be not wasting my time essentially, but it wasn't necessarily leading to a sale. And now what happens, since I've created more and more content, is by the time people come to book a discovery call, they are probably 90% sure that they want to work with me. So my success rate is really good in terms of converting people. I hate that phrase, sorry. Because people are ready. People know what they're all about. There's no surprises. I would say that final 10% is that they just need to check that they like me, that we get on, that I am who I say that I am, etc. So this was at a time, certainly, where we needed to bring back the human element, because certainly in 2018 it was all automated. Like, people were really going into the, hey, first name, hey, Dave from the office says that you are looking for this. It's like, I don't think Dave exists. Like, this is a bit of a peculiar one. Okay, number two, I felt like I had something it felt like I could do something. This is really important. If you are a prolific writer who can knock out a blog post that is incredible with all the SEO, behind the scenes, back end of stuff, brilliant. I am a good writer, but I don't know how to optimize it in terms of SEO. And besides, one of the things that I've noticed is my clients come from actual conversations. So when you're thinking about podcasting, really notice, is this something that you can do, and what does this look like? Number three, I loved the medium. So I've been listening to podcasts since 2008. And what was happening, so I had an iPad at the time, and I would plug myself in and I'd be wandering around because I don't think I had an iPod at that stage. And then I had my son in 2015, and I was really cracked open, let's just say, by motherhood. And suddenly loads of ideas and thoughts and feelings. I felt like I'd given birth, but also I was kind of reborn as well, if that doesn't sound dramatic. But there was a sense in there where I felt really tired and broken, but I was ambitious, I was curious, I was interested in what was next and what I could do. But I was missing that conversation. So when I was walking my son around the park, all I could hear was these bro conversations of get up earlier, man, smash it, have a protein shake, do all of these things. And I was just left thinking that just doesn't feel good to me. I wanted a gentler conversation. I wanted to be able to feel like I was included, but without that kind of weird energy. Well, it felt weird to me. How I started, I decided, and then I shared I was starting a podcast, and I took action. Now that sounds very flippant when I say it, but here's what I really meant. I started to tell people that I knew that I could trust, that would support me and would have faith in me. And also I decided to lean into the possibility of what it could bring rather than the fear. And this has been really key for me when I'm starting something new, or I'm moving outside my comfort zone, or I'm doing something different. The temptation sometimes can be, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to get started. I don't know any of the answers. How am I going to do this? And actually, if you listen to the possibility and get excited by that, the fear, it's almost like jogging behind and it has to catch up. But possibility is flying the flag and leading in advance. I also imagine it had lots of listeners. So even though the temptation could be like, oh, I'm just doing this small thing and I haven't got anyone, I've only just started and I don't know what I'm doing and let's just see, I took a gamble on myself. I took a bet on myself, like, oh, okay, well, what would happen if this was heard all around the world? What could happen? And so the moves that I made, like downloading some great music for it, for example, and investing that money, really changed things, absolutely. And finally, one of the things that people ask me is like, how do you create loads of content? Like, oh gosh, you've always got new podcast episodes. I create and I follow processes. So I make it easy for myself. I have a step by step. I do this. Sometimes I batch. I definitely plan in advance. There are times where I have flexibility, where I can make it playful. But ultimately, that process that I have created works for me, and it works for people that help me with the podcast. So that has been really key in terms of, it's not random. It's not oh gosh, I don't know what we're doing here. It's all sort of very straightforward. Next, why have I continued? The experience gives me so much. Honestly, it gives me clients, it gives me leads, even though, again, I don't like that word, but I have new people coming into my world each and every day. I have sales coming into my business. I have one-on-one opportunities, and it gives me so much to be able to share. Pharrell Williams always has this sense of like, send the lift down. Now, I'm not saying like I'm at the top of the building now and I've made it. Sometimes it's like, okay, here's where I am in the building. How can I help the person on the floor next to me? How can I bring them up and welcome them there? Secondly, life has changed so much since 2018. So that time in the coaching world was all about big hair, big shoes, big handbags, big trips, first class travel. And that has certainly not been the case for the world for the last couple of years. And so being able to be nimble within my own content and not have to be accountable to anybody else has been amazing. And it's meant that my business has continued, but also be sensitive to my surroundings and what's going on in the world at the moment. Finally, in this section, I own my own content, and it works for me when I'm sleeping. I heard a brilliant woman years ago, Grace Lever, talking about doing it once and then it's done. And I really try and apply that philosophy to my business and my brand, in terms of thinking, how can I do something once and how can I let it fly and do what it needs to do? So it works for me when I'm sleeping. I wake up in the morning, and episodes that I've set to go live have had so many listens, and that's really exciting. And especially being a mum with 2 small children, I like that flexibility within my business, that I'm not just limited to growing it with me actually being on the phone with somebody and doing all of the things. Finally, how have I continued? I've written in big capital letters, imperfectly. This is really important to say. You have to do things imperfectly sometimes. You can't wait for everything to be 10 out of 10, 100%, because it's sometimes just not realistic, and you will wait and you'll never do the thing. Being true to myself and my content, again, has been really important. Knowing where I should speak, how I should speak, what I should speak on has been absolutely golden. Because otherwise, if I'm trying to be all things, or I'm not working in my zone of genius, if you've read that book, The Big Leap, I get scattered and I'm no use to anybody. So being true to myself has been really important, and making sure that I'm making content that I am good at making. Finally, how I've continued by daring to dream and be willing to do the work around self-worth, imposter syndrome. When you say that you're going to start something, so many people will give you their feedback, like, how are you going to do that then? Or what does that mean? Or like, who are you to do that? Get you having a podcast, whatever it might be. Even if people don't say it, we might even hear those voices in our heads. So it's really important to do that work, to explore, is this true? How can I support myself in this? How can I back myself? And it's an interesting work and life and business and self-development. They all go in a lovely bundle. If you are interested in finding more about podcasting, do go and check out my course, Speak Up, nikkiraby.com/speak up. I work with you one-on-one. There's also an online course as well. So I would love to hear from you if I can support you and help you doing that. All right, I'm going to leave it there for now. I'm sending lots of love, and I'll speak to you very soon. Bye.